And can you believe it? We are about to enter the final month of 2025. My, does time fly. Hey, my name is Han Tan. I'm the Chief Market Analyst at Bybit Learn. Thank you so much for joining in this live stream as we'll give you a heads up on what is to come in the week ahead. All right, so markets never sleep, although it was kind of sleeping for a bit earlier today, and I'll tell you why in just a bit. But in just a bit, we're going to show you how not just Bitcoin and gold are faring, but also, just give you a preview of the week ahead. Then there are three assets that we have picked out for you to potentially keep an eye on, and more importantly, perhaps take a part of. Okay, do not miss out on all these that we're sharing with you. So let's get right to it. First things first, I'm going to show you the chart for Bitcoin, which has just hit a 1 week high, touching $92,000 for the first time in about a week, as you can see on my screen. I'll leave this chart here while I make sure that, yes, we are now live on YouTube. Thank you so much for those watching right now. And then let me just do a quick check on X to make sure we are there as well. Looks like it. So again, for those of you who are watching on X, we are also available on YouTube. You just got to look for the Bybit Learn official channel and then click on the live tab. Okay. Then for those of you watching on YouTube, we are also on X, and you can find us at Bybit_learn. That's our handle on X, at Bybit_learn. Okay. So we are live on YouTube. We're still waiting confirmation for that we are live on X. Let me just do a quick check here, folks. While you are looking at the Bitcoin chart there on the screen, and find out, well, did you miss that that rebound from literally a week ago? This time last week, right after our live stream, prices just fell to below 81,000, and since then it's added on about 11,000, right? Dollars now climbing above 92,000 as we speak, highest levels that we had seen since the 2 Thursdays ago. Okay, so yeah, just double checking that we are live on X. Hope we don't have a Cloudflare problem again. But yes, we are live on X. Okay, cool. Well done. All right, so let's get right to it. So you can see here on the Bitcoin chart, this is the daily time frame. So again, those of you, if you're watching this for the first time, we tend to keep this on the 1 day time frame. Here on Bybit, you can go down to the 1 minute time frame. That means each of these candlesticks or bars, what is this called, a candlestick, right, will show how Bitcoin's prices performed in that one single day. All right, look at this dramatic drop that we saw on November 21st, literally a week ago, right? But then now it is jumping up to above 92,000. So if you recall, this time last week, I had set up this potential scenario, right? Both upside and downside, but the upside one was triggered because we had a daily close above $89,000, and we've set the target for 95,000, right? So there's still some more opportunity here, right, until it hits our upside target. Now this was meant to be like a weekly time frame, but of course we have to maybe give it a bit more breathing space because this rebound is still tepid, right? But if you zoom out and look at where it is from those record highs, there is still a lot to do for Bitcoin bulls being those who believe prices will go higher. Still a lot more for them to do in order to revisit the record highs that we saw just about a couple of months ago, right? October 6th of 126,195.5. Okay, so right now, at least there's a slight rebound. The reason I highlighted 95,000 as a target, because not only is it just a short-term target, but you need to really vanquish this and really punch up higher so that you can break out of this downtrend of higher highs and higher lows. Okay, break out of this downtrend of lower highs and lower lows. My mistake, my apologies there. But again, we're gonna keep things bite-sized on these daily live streams, so make sure you keep checking in, right? Because next week we will, although we will be on a slight pause because of the long 4-day weekend here in the UAE, But we'll be back on Wednesday. That is Wednesday, December. Wow, go figure. December 3rd. Okay, it's already December, and we'll be back then, and I'll give you a new setup. And who knows whether we'll see if Bitcoin has indeed hit that 95,000 level at least, or if not, surpassed it, or it just falls short because we still have that 21-day simple moving average. This is a widely followed technical indicator that traders might say, okay, look, rise and hit it, maybe that's good enough, right? Because this can often exert strong resistance. Resistance, think of it like a ceiling where prices just kind of hit it and then bounce back down, right? As opposed to a support, which is like a floor where prices hit it and then bounce up. Okay, so you can see the 21-day simple moving average was a resistance. This was November 11th, right? I drawn it there. Also, you saw this period of slight support, but more resistance here around early November, late October, early November, and then also another resistance there around mid-October, right? So this is a widely followed, this baby blue line here. I've colored it baby blue. You can change the color, and you can even change the time frames as well, from 21-day to 50-day, 200-day, whichever works and perhaps gives you that signal, right? You can find all these indicators in the top left-hand corner of the Bybit web trading platform, right? Just click on it and just type in moving average. I already put a star there to make it my favorite because I like to keep things simple. But many different indicators that you can find within the Bybit universe. Again, this is I'm showing the website trading platform. Of course, on the Bybit app, you can find it. I think it's on the top right-hand side. You just got to look for that settings icon. I know it's a bit small here, but it's like that bolt-looking icon, and you can find all those indicators there. Okay, but anyways, yeah. So long story short, daily close above 89K. Okay, signal, that's good. We'll see if it gets all the way to 95,000. Okay, that's Bitcoin for you, but rising to a 1 week high. And then let's look at another crowd favorite here. I know many of you love this, gold. Oh, how about this, right? So in the name of transparency, all of these daily live streams on weekdays, of course, are kept archived on not just our YouTube channel. Again, you got to look for Bybit Learn Official and click on the live tab. And those of you watching on YouTube now, you obviously have found it probably. Then on X is just at Bybit_learn, and it's populated, and archived within the Bybit Learn feed. So if you watched last Friday's live stream, November 21st, right, you would have seen how prices I mentioned was still sandwiched between that 9-day and 21-day simple moving average, right? Again, these are widely followed technical indicators. I've colored the 9-day in darker blue, whereas the 21-day in baby blue. And look at what was going on last week. Just hits it, breach it, but didn't sustain, right? Hits it again, and it comes back down. So still very much sandwiched between these two lines. So I mentioned that the breakout was going to be very important, and sure enough, you had confirmation on Monday, this past Monday, November 24th, upside breakup, and today, right, it got to less than 0.2% from the target. Okay, so close. You let me know in the comments whether, hey, you consider that a win, or perhaps you wanted to see it perfect down to the exact cent, right? Well, you let me know. But again, the day is not over yet. We still have many more hours of trading before the US session closes and the trading hours close. And just FYI, you can find the trading hours for each of these assets within the Bybit universe, all by clicking on the info tab here. Oh, sorry, in the top left hand corner, you've got chart, which obviously shows you the chart, and then you've got info, right? And I'll zoom in here a little bit so you can see the timings. These are all in local times, right? That you can find for the availability of trading for that particular asset. Okay, because obviously, if you're coming from the crypto background, you would know, well, crypto basically trades 24/5, right? So we get 24/7, sorry. But for the TradFi products, that's short for traditional finance, TradFi, TRADFI. You can look for it in that hamburger menu across the top left-hand corner. Look for the TradFi icon. Then you can find gold, oil, forex pairs like euro dollar, GBP USD, USD JPY. You've got stock indices like the S&P 500, the Nasdaq 100, the FTSE, whatever you want. A lot of the major ones, right? It's all there, as well as individual stocks as well. Nvidia's, Tesla's, Apple's, right? All these big names. And even some of those stocks are available for trading within the Bybit TradFi universe on a 24 hours, 5 days a week basis, right? So so gold is under the TradFi product, and you can see it got so close to that 4,200 mark that we had highlighted even from a week ago. Okay, and so this is what it looked like. This was the table that I had shown you guys from last week. I'm going to pull it up now. Note the date in the bottom middle of the screen. Give me 1 second. Let me go. There we go. All right. So I just put a check mark there. So, okay, look at Bitcoin. I showed you earlier, just moments ago, 89,000 daily close. Check. Right now, it's moving above 892,000. So we'll see if it gets to 95,000, perhaps today or perhaps over the weekend, or it might take a bit longer. We'll see. Right. So no check mark there yet, but daily close above the 9-day simple moving average for gold. Right. Check. So that was the trigger. And then we've got the target of 4,200, even mentioned from last Friday. So it got so close. All right. So let me know if that's a win or if you missed out, right? So make sure you don't miss out on future live streams. Although we'll be taking a pause for the long weekend here in the UAE, and we'll be back again on Wednesday, December 3rd. Okay, so that's what it looks like in table form. Yeah, going back to the charts here. Yep, goes to rising now. About 41.90 and still climbing. Now, if you had missed the intro, right at the start of this video, I mentioned that, hey, markets did kind of pause for a while, right? And that's because, and I had written about it in our daily bits, real quick up here, right? Okay, let me start by showing you how to get to these articles. So every day we populate stuff, to kind of keep you aware of what's happening in the markets. Obviously, not just TradFi stuff, like the stuff like the S&P 500, NASDAQ 100, euro dollar, gold, oil, etc. Right? But of course, we give you the latest on some of the cryptos you love, like, in this instance, Bitcoin, right? Even from this morning and from yesterday, already flirting with 92K. But yeah, we publish all these articles under the daily bits section. How do you get there? Let me show you. So you go down, if let's say you're starting from bybit.com, which of course is our main website, right? Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better. Okay, so once you get to bybit.com, you will see learn across the top bar there. Hope you guys can see that. I'm waiting for it to show up on YouTube to make sure. Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I think it's big enough. I know quite a few of you are watching this on your PCs, which is cool, but I know there are quite a few of you who are also watching this on your mobile. But if you are on the mobile, just look for the learn, right? Menu or the learn option on the main Bybit homepage, right? You click on learn and you've got another Bybit learn to click into, right? Or you can just memorize the URL. It's learn.bybit.com, which you see is now the URL that has changed to after you have clicked into Bybit Learn, right? Then look up for blog and you've got daily bits. Okay. Do I need to repeat that? I think you've got it. If not, you can figure it out. For those of you on the app, the learn icon is under the services section. So look for services and then scroll around and then you should find it there. Make sure you make it a favorite so that it comes up all the way to the top. Then it's easier access to daily bits, right? So here's what I wrote earlier today, right? 3 assets to watch. And we'll go over those 3 assets in just a bit. But to complete that thought, right? I started off with this. When I was writing it this morning, there was a major outage in the TradFi world. I mean, look at the date it was published. That was today, major outage, right? Because you had the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, right, whereby lots of different markets, equities, FX, bonds, commodities were all affected by this longest, it was longer than a similar outage that they had back in 2019. So this was many hours now. So, perhaps that's why you may have noticed some asset prices not printing on, at different exchanges and stuff, right? So it just got back online about 45 minutes ago, right? And there wasn't too much of a disruption there. We do see, like I show you, Bitcoin is not impacted by the CME. Gold, not so much as well. Gold is still fine. Climbing even closer to that 4,200 mark. But going back to some of the more TradFi assets, let me zoom back out here, folks. Sorry, I'm zooming in and out so you guys can see. This is the S&P 500 linked product that we have on the Bybit platforms. You just got to search for SP 500. Right, so if you don't know, the S&P 500 is pretty much the most widely used index to measure US stock markets, or just, to put it in simple terms, answers the questions, well, how are US stock markets doing? Most people, a lot of people, use the S&P 500. Okay, so right now, punching slightly higher, trying to test around the 6,000. Well, it's well above 6,800 now, but trying to test the intraday high from a couple of days ago. As things stand, it is on the cusp of erasing its month to date decline. So look at November, right? It's been a volatile November, as I've written in the article. I'll show you guys again in just a bit, right? It went up, then came all the way down, and then it's rebounded, just like Bitcoin as well. But although Bitcoin has only rebounded to about a 1 week high, S&P 500 is just about ready to erase all of its declines for November. When I wrote the article this morning, it was at 0.4%, I believe. Yeah, so S&P 500, right? Hope you guys can see this. I wonder what it looks like on X. Hopefully you guys can see this. I'm just going to leave this up there so that you guys got time to read it. Right, but there was a recap of quite the volatile November that we've really had for all these major asset classes. Of course, this is all within the TradFi space. Yeah, okay, so it looks decent enough on mobile. Okay, looks good, right? So S&P 500 as of US market close yesterday, those losses were down to 0.4%, right? So right now, although US markets have not officially opened yet, or the cash session has not opened yet, at least the CME outage is over. They started printing prices about 47 minutes ago, and the S&P 500 now is still punching a little bit higher, right? So we'll see if by the end of the trading session, the cash trading session today, whether that's enough to erase all of its November declines, okay, at about 0.4% as of yesterday's close. Okay, so that was the outage that we had for earlier today, and it lasted for quite a few hours because of the CME. You want to read more? Well, I just added just a couple of lines, really. Don't want to bore you with so much of the technical stuff, but that's on Daily Bits, and that's under learn.bybit.com. Click on blog, click on Daily Bits, and you'll get to that article. Okay, and look, folks, any questions that you have, feel free to populate them in the chat. I have the YouTube live chat right in front of me, even though I know that most of you are actually watching this after the live stream is over. We get it, but even if it's after that, feel free to send us a DM on Twitter, and we'll be more than happy to respond to you as soon as possible. Although keep in mind, again, we are about to enter a 4-day weekend here in the UAE. So I'll be back in the office online on Wednesday. So hopefully I can catch up by then, or if not, if it's a quick one, I can even just kind of pop in and out over the 4-day weekend. The things that I do for you. Okay, so you can DM us at Bybit_learn. That's our X handle, at Bybit_learn. All right, check us out there. Now, before we get into the 3 assets to watch, and we've got about 10 minutes left, real quick, I will be doing you a disservice if I do not mention this, because hey, as part of these live streams that we do every single weekday, unless it's a public holiday in the UAE, all right, we do have 25,000 in USDT in rewards that I want to give away, right? We have been doing these daily live streams for a few weeks now. We just started this month, all right, and we have been seeing some signups, but hey, we want to give you guys more, right? We want to try and get rid of this as soon as possible. The only way you can grab your share of this pot of 25,000 USDT in rewards is, first things first, scan the QR code. It'll land you on the Bybit website, again, learn.bybit.com, and then in the top right hand corner, we've got a sign up button. So make sure you sign up, right? These rewards are only available for those people who have Bybit accounts, okay? New signups in particular. So make sure you do that. Now, if you notice on our social media, we do say not just 25,000, but we've got 25,000 USDT and more in rewards. The reason we say and more is because once you scan a QR code or tap on the link in the YouTube description below or on X, wherever you might be watching this from, once you tap on the link or scan the QR code, you'll actually land on this page. Oh, nope, sorry, wrong one. I keep closing down that page. Let's try this again. So learn. There we go. You'll actually land, not learn, on this page. So within this page, right? Again, this is after you sign up and go through the process. You've got a further prize pool of 5,000 USDT that we want to give away. Okay, so 25,000 that I want to give away just for signing up via these live streams. And on top of that, when you land on this page, you can see all the different tasks that you can complete, right, to earn additional points, right? So be it invite your friends or deposit over 100 USDT, right? Or just go through the KYC process, or KYC stands for know your customer. That's where we get to know a bit more about you, right? You got to submit your documents there to make sure that there is compliance, or even try different products like spot products, like I mentioned earlier, gold, SP500, or we've even got crypto spot product as well, or even try trading with bots, right? All these different tasks that you do. Further down, we've got even more tasks that you could try, right? Like an article, comment on it, even post your own article, share your thoughts with the world, share the article on social media, or just plain read an article, right? And then once you attempt as many of these as possible, you can see how you fare against all these people at the top of the leaderboard. Okay, we've got 26, 25, or still 25 pages worth of people who have taken advantage of all these points and by doing all these tasks. So that could get you in the running for your share of 5,000 USDT, in addition to the pool of 25,000 USDT that we have set aside just for those of you watching right now and who are signing up. Okay, so again, right, make sure you tap on the link below on the YouTube video or also on our X platforms. Again, we are at Bybit_learn. So do not miss out. Okay, so don't miss out on these giveaways and also these potential opportunities. So for the coming week, what opportunities are these, right? So I've written about them here. All right, here we go. Let's get right to it. Let me try to zoom out a little bit so that you can see all three on the same screen. There we go. Okay, cool. I'll leave it on there for a while so that you guys can kind of take your time and scan through. Again, you can find all this on the learn.bybit.com site, also on the Bybit app. Just look for the Learn icon on the app. That's within the services section, and click on the icon and you can find stuff there. Or you can just head on down to learn.bybit.com and click on blog, then daily bits. That's what you're looking for. Okay. All right, I'm just checking my phone here. Yeah, I mean, if you rotate, then it could be big enough to see. Okay. On X, yeah, we are streaming and yeah, good to go. Okay, cool. So let me walk through these one by one. Okay. So we've got Brent crude oil, and this one might come early, right? Because look, within the Bybit universe, under Bybit TradFi, the code is, or the ticker we call it, is UKOUSD. UKOUSD. Okay, how you do that is, let me go to the chart here real quick. This is USO. This is a different one, yeah. So they move similarly. This is the US benchmark for oil prices. That's USOUSD. Okay, the one we're looking for is UKOUSD, which here we go. Sorry, there we go. So this is UKOUSD. Okay, now the way you find it is, again, you hover your cursor over the top left hand side, the hamburger menu, those three horizontal lines. You can just type in UKOUSD because now you know the ticker. Otherwise, if you're searching for it, just look for the TradFi button, right? Click on commodities. I mean, you got Forex, you got indices. Look at how each of them are changing. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can see it, right? But this is TradFi. There we go, much better. TradFi. and then commodities. Okay, so notice how you got two different oil contracts here. You got UKOUSD and USOUSD, right? I'll be looking at UKOUSD. Why? Because it is the benchmark used around the world for oil prices. Okay, as opposed to USOUSD is the benchmark for US oil prices. Okay, oil prices in the US. Okay, the reason being because again, this weekend you've got OPEC Plus. If you're not familiar with OPEC Plus, they are essentially this group of major oil producing countries. They have to decide. They meet every month to decide. Okay, well, how much oil should we push out into the world? Right. If you recall, for much of this year, they have been pumping out more oil, or essentially restoring all the output that they had pulled out of the world during the pandemic, right? So they've been slowly releasing back into the world. And economics 101 being when there's more supply than demand, prices go down. Okay, when there's more of something that people want or need, prices tend to go down. Then the opposite is true, right? When there's not enough of something that people want, there's scarcity, right? Demand is higher than supply, then prices tend to go up, right? So if you look at oil prices overall, it has been trending lower over the past couple of years, right? As OPEC Plus has been pumping out more oil into the world, right? Testing $60 support, right? Now, with all that said, that's a long-term view. So what to keep an eye out for this Sunday when their meeting is due. So they have already previously told the world that, hey, we are going to take a pause on these output hikes. We are going to pause on restoring all these oil out into the world because they've pretty much done most of it already, and they are likely to pause until the end of the first quarter of 2026, so March 2026. Okay, however, having said that, if you're a seasoned market watcher like me, you know this, right? OPEC Plus loves to surprise markets, right? And so because the meeting is on a Sunday and oil markets are not trading then, so again, right, we go back to the info tab in the top left hand corner, right? You can zoom in, you can see the times. Prices don't start printing here in my local time until 3 a.m. on Monday, right? So if there's a shocking decision by OPEC Plus to say, hey, we actually want to pump out more oil for next month, which goes against previous expectations that they will leave output levels the same between now and the end of the first quarter of 2026, so around March 2026, right? So if they shock markets with an output hike, then we could see prices go up or down. Well, the expectation is down. Okay, and that's what I'd written about in today's article as well. So although I did say towards $60, I think the downside target might be closer to $61. I think that's close enough. $60, of course, another psychological level, but yeah, that would be a big shocker, right, for it to drop down. To the upside, right, we have seen this support level, right? Remember, support, think of floor. For those of you just joining, I explained it earlier. Support, think of a floor whereby prices hit it and then bounce off, hit it and bounce off, right? Broke below for a couple of days, but then it kind of became a resistance. We saw that on this is which day again? A few days ago. Sorry, something's wrong with my. There we go. Resistance on November 20th, so last week, and then again, pretty close, right? Resistance, think of a ceiling, prices hit it and come back down, as opposed to a floor, right, where prices hit it and then bounce back up. Floor, support, ceiling, resistance. So 21-day simple moving average immediate resistance, right? We will see. Now, if let's say OPEC Plus actually comes out and says, you know what, we are actually going to press pause on these output hikes until the middle of the year, right? For longer than expected. Because right now, markets only know until Q1 of 2026, right? If they extend that pause for longer, then yeah, oil prices likely has a chance to then break above the 21-day simple moving average resistance and then potentially climb higher. But, I'm not expecting any fireworks out of OPEC Plus, but, again, you never know. They do love to spring a surprise on markets once in a while, okay? especially around the year-end season. So that's asset number one, right? UKOUSD. Again, that is a Brent crude oil. That's the global benchmark for oil prices. So look out for that, because on Sunday you've got an OPEC Plus meeting. Okay. Yeah. So that's oil. Now we move on over to the world's most traded FX pair. That's the euro dollar. Okay. Every single day, right? I think about $9.5 trillion. Let's say what? Actually, let me just double check on that. So the Bank of International Settlements releases a report every few years to see how much is actually traded around the world in FX markets. So I believe, yeah, here we go, $9.6 trillion per day. All right. So as of April of this year, $9.6 trillion per day in foreign currencies are exchanged every single day. That's how big the Forex market is. Okay. And again, you can find many of these Forex pairs under Bybit, TradFi. And the most popular FX pair, right? This is the euro dollar. So it's a pair, right? Euro versus the US dollar. This is the most popular, most traded FX pair. Okay. So as you can see, right, it's hit support at the 21-day simple moving average. Again, found support here, turn resistance, resistance here. I think this was around early to mid October, right? So this is certainly a technical indicator that is widely followed as well, the 21-day simple moving average. For those of you just joining, I showed you guys earlier, you can find the technical indicators here, top left hand corner. Look for the chart looking icon, right? For those of you on the Bybit app, you can look for the settings icon. I think it's on the top right hand corner, and you can find all of so many technical indicators there, right? So many, right? But for the euro dollar, let's try and, sorry guys, I'm totally zooming in and out. Hope you guys can follow along, because I know I'm moving quite fast here, right? So support at the 21-day simple moving average, prices hit it and bounce back up, right? But this is the forecasted trading range that we have using the Bloomberg FX model for the next 1 week. So between now and this time next week, and you guys keep me in check, right? Right? This is the expected range and potential target to the upside and potential target to the downside. Why? Because you've got quite a few assets to look out for. Quite a few economic data to look out for. So we know inflation is a widely followed economic data. So the Eurozone will be releasing it on December 2nd. And then on the 5th, we'll be looking at the US dollar side of the story, because the US PCE, which is the personal consumption expenditures, it's just know this, it is the preferred way to measure inflation by the US Federal Reserve, which is the most important central bank in the world, the Fed. Okay, in fact, we've got a dedicated live stream coming up on December 9th, the day before the Fed is supposed to announce to the world their decision on US interest rates. Is big, right? That decision can dictate not just how stocks, bonds, FX, even cryptos, right, perform not just throughout the rest of this year, but also going into next year as well. So this is a big, highly anticipated one. Don't worry, we'll keep you guys posted along the way in these daily live streams, but certainly don't miss out on that December 9th live stream that we'll have at 8 a.m. GMT time. Right, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled on that. We'll be posting out announcements on the Bybit website, bybit.com, also on our Bybit Learn socials as well. Okay, those of you just joining, at Bybit_learn, that's our X handle. We are also now live streaming on YouTube. Look for Bybit Learn Official. That's the channel on YouTube. Okay. And we'll cover this again. When we come back on Wednesday, right, we'll see how the CPI, that's the inflation, headline inflation, and the unemployment rate for the Eurozone, how that affected Euro dollar. Again, we'll be taking a break from these live streams and from the daily bits because of the 4-day weekend here in the UAE, but we'll be back on Wednesday, so make sure you don't miss out, okay? We've already given the expected trading range as well between now and next week. Okay, so don't miss out on that. Before we get to Bitcoin again, to wrap things up, okay, just to show you, right, these forecasted trading ranges, man, we just had an example this week of how it worked so nicely, right? Again, in the name of transparency, all of these live streams are, and of course our website articles as well, right, they're all kept online, right? So these live streams, again, you can find them on YouTube. Just tap on the live tab under Bybit Learn Official in the Bybit Learn Official channel. Click on the live tab. You'll see all these live streams there. Check out the one from last Friday, November 21st. I had already drawn this line 1.324, right? And last Friday, let's see, prices were about 21st, right here. This was a daily candlestick, right, all the way down here. We had set the target and it worked out so beautifully because on the day of the UK autumn budget announcement, which was a couple of days ago, prices hit it, right? The next day, markets didn't want I mean, it did rise further, but it was rejected. So it had this doji candlestick, which is this cross DOJI. You can look it up. It signals that markets are indecisive, and sure enough, rejected it, and prices came back down, right? So in other words, for that upside scenario, basically 1.324 that we had drawn on this chart from last Friday, right, was pretty much as good as it got. I mean, short of a few more pips the day after, right? But then, unless if you're able to catch it down to the minutest tick, right? Not even pip, right? 1.324 is a pretty healthy target, which markets respected, right? So that's the kind of history that we have with some of these forecasts. Again, to be clear, none of this is financial advice. Please, please, please do not misconstrue any of this as financial advice. I'm just calling the markets as it is, right? But more importantly, you can hold us accountable. You can check all those previous live streams, like when I drew this target for GBP USD back from a week ago. Okay, so for the coming week, we're looking at euro dollar. That's to the upside, that's to the downside. You're going to need a daily close below the 21-day simple moving average before we can even look at 1.14860. Euro dollar moving down would mean that the euro is weakening against the US dollar, or the US dollar is strengthening against the euro. That's when euro USD goes down. As opposed to if euro dollar goes up towards 1.16770, that means the euro is strengthening against the dollar, or the dollar is weakening against the euro. That's when euro dollar goes up. Okay, so that's how FX pairs work. Okay, don't worry, we'll be repeating a lot more of these in the daily live streams. And if you got any questions about how FX markets works, or crypto, of course, or stock indices, or gold, oil, feel free to give me a shout out, and I'll be more than glad to answer those questions. Okay, all right. Then the last one, of course, as I mentioned in the article, is of course Bitcoin. Now, the reason I didn't refresh the targets, because both for gold and oil, there's still a little bit more breathing room, and we'll check in just a bit. But you've got big key economic data out of the US that could influence sentiment around cryptos. Okay. Speaking of, and I'd shown you guys a bit of it earlier, and I'll show it to you guys again. So you look, this is the implied volatility for the next 30 days. Okay, this index, just think of a way of measuring something. So this index measures how markets expectations on how much volatility for Bitcoin we could see over the next 30 days. Okay, implied, that means future, right? Volatility just means how much the prices moves, right? And how quickly, how much and how fast. Okay, so that volatility we saw last week, right? Well, pretty much just moments after that live stream ended, right? It just spiked up big time, matching levels that we saw during the dramatic October 10th crypto liquidation event day. That was October 10th, right? The largest liquidation event in crypto history, right? The implied volatility spiked up to matching to those levels, and also to levels that we last saw back in March, April, back at the height of the tariff angst, when markets were just concerned about, how or what kind of impact President Trump's tariffs could have on the global economy, right? So you saw crypto fell, you saw stock markets fell, right? Because there's so much fear. But of course, we know since that March-April period, Bitcoin that went on to hit a new record high before seeing some dramatic stuff. But sentiment appears to be turning, right? Judging by the implied volatility. Something else you can look at here real quick is if you go to the Bybit website, where I'll show you. Go to bybit.com, right? See markets, right? Click on markets, and you can see this thing called the market sentiment meter. Now, to be clear, although 25 still signals fear, if you look at my daily bits from last week was down to as low as 11, whereby it was extreme fear. In other words, markets may appear not as fearful as they were a week ago, right? Hence, you got the market sentiment coming back up slightly, although still signaling fear. You've got implied volatility also coming down, but still elevated compared to the summer lull that we had, June, July, August, September. Okay, right. So there are signs that sentiment is turning. I can give you some data on ETF as well, although it's on my Bloomberg terminal, so I cannot show it to you due to copyright reasons. But let's see. Well, markets have opened now, so let's see if we can get some live data. No, this was last update. Oh no, it is updated right now. Let's see. So you've got let me see, crypto ETFs. Just giving you some live update here, folks. Crypto ETFs today. Yeah, you've got some inflows coming back into crypto ETFs as well, right? So about $50 million coming into Ethereum Trust. This is the BlackRock one. About 43 million coming into the Bitcoin Trust, and that's the biggest Bitcoin ETF in the world. Although, of course, to put things in perspective, 43 million is a tiny amount compared to the, I think, over $100 billion of Bitcoin that it had at its peak, right? So there are signs that markets are coming, at least being less fearful now. If you take the 1 week perspective, you've got over $100 million going into the Ripple ETF, over $100 million into the Solana ETF. That's this week. Although for the biggest Bitcoin ETF in the world, that's still got about a 1 week outflow of about 500 million, right? So anyways, there are fleeting signs that while sentiment might be turning, of course, like I showed you guys earlier on the Bitcoin chart, right? There's still a lot more convincing to do for Bitcoin before it can even try to rediscover those record highs that we saw in early October. Okay, so yeah, right now holding around that 92,000 mark, right? Still trading around at its highest levels in over a week. There's this rebound here. Did you miss out? But I'll be keeping this setups intact. I'll show you to you guys on the screen now. And it's something to keep an eye out for whether or not Bitcoin can go up all the way to 95,000, a target that we had from last week. Okay, daily close, check. Okay, done. That's potentially the trigger. Now let's see if we can go all the way up there, as opposed to gold, right? Check daily close about the 90 simple moving average, and then got so close today, within 0.2%, less than that of the 4,200 target that we had set from November 21st. Okay, so I think we'll leave it at that. That's plenty to digest over the weekend and along. Oh, there we go. How about this? We can put a check mark next to, is this gold? Yes, it is gold. Yay, well done. How about that for breaking news? So looks like I can seal that one. Mission accomplished there. Went up to as high as, let me see, today's high was 4208.64, right? So that setup can be done here. I'll do it on the fly. So no longer within 0.2%. I'll just copy paste this. Check mark. Done. All right. So those of you who stayed on all the way to now, well done. Are you? Right? You managed to see markets live in action. So this was the 1 week time frame that we had for gold and Bitcoin, right? So look at the date again, November 21st, right? Don't believe me? Check out the live stream from last week, right? It's right there on X. We don't delete it. This is transparency, right? We said 4,200. Okay, then sure enough, within 15 minutes of the US markets open, breach 4,200 and then come back down. Remember, yeah, these big round numbers like 4,200 can affect the psyche and often affects the psyche of traders and investors, right? So for example, again, this is not financial advice. For example, right, if I from last Friday I already set a position and I've set a target of 4,200, done, mission accomplished, right? So if 4,200 is easier target to follow, it's easier to key it into your buy and sell orders as well, right? So that's why big round numbers often affect the psyche of traders and investors. That's why you see prices react around those levels as well. Okay, so yeah, right there, breach up above it by $8, and now come back down, and now 4199.84, right? Just about. So there's some battle between the buyers and the sellers there. Okay, so yeah, I can remove this as well. Well done. All right, so that's done. We'll see if Bitcoin is actually, I'm still struggling to keep its head above 92,000. Yeah, because like I said, right, given all the drama that's happened across the crypto space, understandably so, market sentiment is still raw, nerves are still frayed. There's a lot more convincing for buyers to come back in, not just through the ETF space, but through spots and perpetuals as well. I'll tell you what, because I'm going to be taking a break from these live streams for the next 4 days. We'll just go a bit longer. I know we're about 15, 16 minutes past already. So if you look at the learn.bybit.com, click on blog, click on crypto insights. Every week, we and our buddies at Block Shoals, or Block School if you're American, right? Right, we kind of interpret what the derivatives markets are telling us, right? So even this was published yesterday, November 27th, right? So there has been this slow but steady recovery in not just crypto sentiment, but also, correlating with the recovery here in Bitcoin prices, right? So those of you who are more advanced and want to study more about what's happening in the derivative space, you can go check out that article from Bybit and Block Shoals. Again, that's under learn.bybit.com. Click on blog, click on crypto insights, and it's a weekly article that we have there. Otherwise, for those of you who are new, right, you can just look to bybit.com, click on the markets tab, right, and you can see what the sentiment meter is looking like. 25, notably higher than the 11 reading of extreme fear that we had just a week ago. Okay, so of course, still a long ways to go before we are super bullish like we were coming into October, right? Okay, cool. I think that's plenty now to leave it at. Plenty to digest. We will be taking a break from the daily live streams and the daily bits for the next few days. We've got a 4-day weekend, and we'll be back on Wednesday, December 3rd. It's going to be December, all right? And of course, the big thing to look out for in December, the Fed rate decision. The Fed, the Federal Reserve, the world's most important central bank, okay? Do not miss out. We'll give you all you need to know on a special live stream on December 9th at 8 a.m. GMT. Mark your calendars. Look out for those announcements across not just Bybit socials, but also Bybit Learn socials. For Bybit Learn, it's Bybit Learn Official on YouTube, okay, at Bybit Learn Official, or one word, YouTube, and then on YouTube, and then look for the live tab, okay, and that's where all our live streams. Or you can follow us on X. That's at Bybit_learn. Okay. I don't see any questions on YouTube. Really, no questions for me. Let me just do one quick check-in on X. So yes, indeed. Well, plenty of opportunities, though the volatility into December stays a factor. So great comment there, right? But again, like I showed you at mubite_com, mubite.com, right? So you do have, make sure I'm still showing the right screen. You do have implied volatility that's coming down. Now, to be clear, of course, this is not saying that there won't be any volatility, right? Because you still have big events coming up, like the Fed meeting. So that can trigger big moves for cryptos. The crypto world still needs a confidence shot in the arm, right? It needs a big boost, right? So even though implied volatility is coming down basically from now through after Christmas, just a few days after Christmas, but it's still relatively elevated to compared to the subdued volatility. That means prices barely moved during the summer months, right, from June all the way through September before it really just spiked up in October. Okay, so yeah, I essentially, short story, I agree with you. Okay, well done there. Something to keep an eye out, and we will help you guys keep an eye out on what's happening, not just across the crypto space, but across TradFi as well, right here on Bybit Learn. Last but not least, 30 seconds left, and do not miss out on this, folks. Please don't miss out because, hey, you want Christmas to come early, and here's one way you can make it that much sweeter because, hey, we know that this information, right, at least, should be, is intended to help you make better decisions across markets, crypto markets, TradFi, gold, FX, stocks, stock indices. We have done stuff on NVIDIA, right, for example. Yeah, I know, but so the learning should be reward in and of itself. But of course, we know we don't want to make it sweeter for you guys. So scan the QR code and sign up for your Bybit accounts. That way, you guys can grab your share of 25,000 USDT in rewards. Okay, cool. And for the person who just joined on YouTube towards the end, well, you caught it at the perfect time. Otherwise, you can rewatch this live stream on our YouTube channel. Right, like and subscribe it at Bybit Learn Official. Again, that's at Bybit Learn Official, all one word. Click on the live tab, or on X, you can check us out at Bybit_Learn. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys again on Wednesday, December 3rd. So I'm going to take a nice long weekend, and of course, still keeping an eye on what Bitcoin and the markets are doing between now and then.